Hello and welcome to another edition of Overcoming Illness. So tonight I'm going to address something that's very near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about human trafficking. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and one of the things I am called to as an intercessor is human trafficking. So allow me to introduce myself. If you have not seen my show before, I'm Paula Denoncourt. I'm a holistic health consultant. I am a prophetic vessel. I've been doing my business since about 2010. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking engagements, and now my own TV show. And I help my clients stop living a life of suffering and pain. And I do that with giving them simple recipes and simple suggestions for lifestyle changes. So with that, and I also offer ebooks, digital ebooks and recipe books, and I do have a free gift for you. So please don't forget to go for that free gift on my website, enrichyourhealth.com. It's under the store. If it's empty, go to the other one. It's under construction. So you can get a free Reversing Illness ebook or a free 6-day immunity meal plan guide. So feel free to grab those. And I am looking for guests to be on the show. I am looking for sponsors for the show. So please reach out to me either through Instagram or Facebook Messenger, or you can get me on the website under my phone number, 508-330-9665. And you can reach me that way. So why is human trafficking near and dear to my heart? Why do I want to address it tonight? Because I feel like it's not being talked about enough. I know it's raising awareness big time, but it's not being talked about enough. So I really want to talk about it. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month and sex trafficking. A couple of years ago, as a visionary, as a prophetic vessel, I don't like to call myself a prophet. I started to get some visions of trafficking, and I started to realize that I am kind of called, so to say, to pray and intercede over it. So I feel like it's also part of my duty. Hey, Mootsier, welcome. Thank you for coming on, and thank you everyone for wherever you are in the world for coming on tonight. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. So as a prophetic vessel, like I said, I get visions of it. And just to give you a quick example, one of my visions, I saw a tractor trailer with these girls in the back of the truck. Their mouths were taped shut. They had shackles on their ankles, and they were hiding behind like soil. So what does that tell you? That they were probably being trafficked from farming. They must have been workers on a farm. I've seen that. I've seen, some kind of remote area where there were several children with duct tape and, they were just being used and abused there. I don't know any other way to put it. So I want to bring some things to your attention to watch out for, to be aware of in your communities, in your neighborhoods, and just educate you a little bit with a little bit more knowledge about this and give you some resources. So first and foremost, I don't know if you know this, but trafficking can create about $150 billion per year. It is happening from, and I'm not afraid to say this, I might get shut down, but I'm sorry. From the Vatican on down, it's going through politicians and you name it. I'm not going to name names or anything like that. But it really is. It's in other countries, and it's a big, big business, and they're making a lot of money from it. So let's talk about some of the numbers. Even this one, look at this one. Estimated there were 24.9 million people trapped in the forced labor globally. Forced labor means human trafficking. COVID-19 put a damper on it. People were not able to traffic the way they normally do. In 2020, they passed the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act. And the United Nations launched the UN Voluntary Trust Fund for victims of trafficking. Another place that they do lurk online to traffic, hate to say it, but it's some of these places that us business people love to be. They use TikTok to traffic. They use Facebook to traffic. They use the metaverse. I've seen videos about predators preying on children in these games, gaming even, not even just the metaverse. So even like the games that your kids play, you don't know who's on the other side. These predators, they just hold no, they'll do anything they can to prey on kids. So if a child is depressed and very introverted and online all the time, if you're a parent, you've got to find a way to monitor what they're on. If it's on their phones, there's a lot of different apps out there to be careful of. Now, can I name them? No. I did a talk on this a few years back, and I named a lot of the apps, but those have probably changed since then. That was about 5 years ago. So they probably have changed. Snapchat was heavily used. So you just don't know. You really have to monitor what your kids are doing when it comes to that. But that's not the only place. I just wanted to make you aware of that. They do prey on kids that are depressed and what's the word I want? Need attention. They act like they're their best friend and come meet me somewhere, and then the next thing you know, they're gonna snatch your kid, especially if it's a teenage kid from like maybe the age of 12 to 17. Let's see what else we can address here. Forced labor. So I talked about that a little bit with one of my visions. They get them on the farming industry. Lots of trafficking happens on the farming industry. Then you have sex trafficking, which is slightly different than human trafficking. They use the kids for sex and make money off of it. Forced marriages is also another form of human trafficking. This happens a lot more in other countries. Here's another really sick one, but this does happen. Illegal organ trade. They make money. They snatch the kids, and then they make money off of the organs of that child. They force victims to undergo surgery for illegal organ trade. Begging is also a form of human trafficking, where traffickers use vulnerable people, such as children, to beg for money in the streets. So now they also use other children to bait the children. When I grew up, I'll tell you something. What were we told? Don't take candy from a stranger. Don't talk to strangers. Well, now they're getting quite crafty, a little bit more bold. I will tell you, one of the biggest things they use, like in a mall, is a van. A lot of the times it's known as the white van. Don't park next to a van, especially if you've seen it sitting there a long time. Just be aware of your surroundings. Another thing that they was zip ties on car handles. I've seen this. I saw a video. The father of the daughter was maybe a nurse or something. She comes home late at night, which is really early in the morning, like 3 a.m. She came home and there was zip ties on the car handle. That's a form of trafficking. So be aware of these things. Now they're also using, it's not just trafficking. It's just another way to knock people out. They put something on your door handle that has chemicals in it. So when your hands touch it, it's going to knock you right out. So if you ever see anything on your door handle or on the window shield, make sure you have a glove on before you touch that. Because even if you touch it and then wash your hands, it's still on the handle. Be careful of that kind of stuff. You want to be careful. Those are some things, some crafty ways that they traffic. Here are some more. One of the other things God showed me, they lure children with ice cream trucks. So I saw visions of ice cream trucks, and that's what lures the children in, right? I want an ice cream. Well, some kind of ice cream truck driver, parents not around, gonna lure the children in. They lure them with food. Pizza is another one. I've seen, parades. Be very wary of children's parades. It's another place that they lurk and look for children to snatch them. They're getting very crafty. They look for runaways. It happens. I'm not saying all social workers are bad. They're not. But it does happen through Child Protective Services. These children are lonely. They're desperate. So certain people that are bad may work in those professions to lure in these children or kids. Some of them aren't children. Some of them are a little bit older, 17, 18, 16, whatever. They run away from home. They're down on their luck. I mean, another thing they use a lot of times is from other countries. Promises that kid is beautiful. Now they probably use this, right? They probably say, oh, we'll make you an influencer. You can be our influencer for our company, for our hotel, or this or that. When I was a kid, we all did this. We did snail mail. And every little girl wanted to be a model. And you were lured in. Luckily, I never was, but I played on this stupid stuff. You'd write out a little application to be a model. Well, now they're a little bit more crafty with that. You don't just write out an application to be a model. They use things like influencers, or we're going to pay you money to advertise our brand or our hotel. Some of the industries that these traffickers work so much. Yeah, right, Marina? My goodness. And Mutzer. Yep, it's crazy. That's why I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Some of the industries that this happens in is obviously hotels. Now, also they're starting to use Airbnbs. So please, if you rent out Airbnbs, I highly suggest, of course, check with all your legalities, your contracts, see what, make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed and all of this. But any way you can have any kind of camera footage around your property, in case anything does happen with any kind of trafficking, you've got that footage. You've got footage of cars coming in, people coming in, whatever it might be. I don't know what the legalities are, where, if you have to say that you've got camera footage there, I don't know. You do your own research, but I highly suggest if you can have camera footage around your Airbnb property, because you never know who's renting out those Airbnbs. They're using Airbnbs, they're using hotels to traffic. And, that's another thing. As a person in the area, if you know there are Airbnbs in your area, say you live in a touristy area, like I'm in North Carolina, there's a lot of Airbnbs in North Carolina, I'm sure, even by the beach. I'm not by the beach, I wish I were. But I'm sure by the beach. Pay attention to your surroundings. What's coming and going in these places, in these Airbnbs, even a cottage, even a hotel. You can tell when somebody's not happy walking into a place. If they're scared or they're fearful, take notes. I'm going to share some resources in a little bit later on about, who you can report to. So those are some things. Pay attention to your surroundings. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Miss Trina. Thank you for being on. Yeah, pay attention to your surroundings. Where I grew up in Massachusetts even, we never heard of people lurking around the malls, trying to snatch our kids. Like I said, we were always told not to talk to strangers, but it wasn't as bad back then, I guess you could say. Now it's getting really bad. The parent can be right there and they're snatching kids. They're not afraid. They'll follow, or if it's a pretty girl, they'll follow you around the store. Walmart, Target, the mall, it doesn't matter. They watch you. They look for anything that's, what's the word? Vulnerability. That's the word I want. And they will take you. Not to scare anybody, but just be aware. Or they'll take your kids. So be aware of these things. Have things on your phone, GPS trackers, your kids' phones. When I worked for OnStar, there's like a tracker on the phone besides the regular tracker. So if something ever happened, you can track them. Oh, here's another big one. Uber and Lyft. Yeah, I hate to say it. And I was an Uber and Lyft driver, so I'm not knocking them. I am not. Please make that clear. There are some that lure in kids and traffic by using Uber and Lyft. And I've noticed they've gotten a little bit tighter with some of their restrictions, like 18-year-olds and things, but it's still not foolproof because a lot of times they use a parent's card. Well, it's an adult trafficker. That adult trafficker is going to put all their information in for the Uber ride. Then the kid gets in the car, could be a 17-year-old. How do you know how old they are? You know? I don't know if you have to have like some sort of ID. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't know. But with that, which leads me into another place that they really lure kids in, and they make billions, more money than any other time of the year. You're not going to believe this one. I was in shock when I heard this. The Super Bowl. They lurk at the, in fact, they hang out at the hotels. It's all planned. A lot of politicians, bigwigs that make big money. They make more money when they do the trafficking. The traffickers make more money during the Super Bowl. Why? Because most of the people that go to the Super Bowl have a lot of money. So they figure they can make more by trafficking at a Super Bowl. So if you know anybody, pretty girls especially, not to say it doesn't happen to boys too, it does, but especially pretty young girls, you know they by the grace of God somehow go into the Super Bowl. Maybe it's a group of girls, I don't know, or even a game. You know, it might even be not the Super Bowl, but even a game, and they're taking, you know, they're partying and they're taking Uber or Lyft, and college kids make sure they know how to use the what's the word I want, protection on Uber and Lyft. There's a way now that you can let somebody know where your ride is going. There's a way that you can kind of almost like call 911 on the app if you feel like you're in trouble. So they have taken more safety precautions, but I really caution you if you're a pretty young girl, and it's not to say it can't happen to anybody, because now people are getting a little bit more down on their luck, and, you know, not even just to talk about trafficking, but just safety in general. Anything can happen anytime, right? We could get kidnapped, robbed, whatever. But right now we are focusing on trafficking. You know, they shouldn't travel alone, you know, especially pretty young girls. If you've got young kids, tell them, you know, whatever it takes, try not to travel alone in an Uber or Lyft with everything that's going on today. So those are some things. So they do, they use places like restaurants. It's all the hospitality industry is how they use it. Restaurants, hotels, especially near, like, around the Super Bowl, all those places, those hotels, those restaurants, places like that. Let me see if there's anything I'm not thinking about. Oh, here was another one I never would have thought of. Construction sites, you know, they lurk around there. So let's see, the healthcare industry, massage parlors, that's another big one. A lot of times that's a cover up for trafficking or prostitution, even, is massage parlors. Entertainment, that's another one. Oh, so that kind of goes back to what I was talking about They lure you in by saying, oh, you can be an influencer and you can make money representing our brand. One of them in specific can be the hotel industry. I saw a video. Thankfully, this woman brought her boyfriend with her. And when they got to this place where she was supposed to be an influencer of the hotel and get paid and all this stuff, she brought the boyfriend with her. And this guy was like, what are you doing here? And it just kind of blew up. And then they knew that that was a setup, that that was not what it was meant to be. She probably would have gotten kidnapped. Thankfully, she was smart enough to bring someone with her. So if you do fall, like I just saw one today, I saw a video about being an influencer for all these hotels, and they've got this picture of this woman who looks normal. And it could be normal, it could be real, it could be legit. I don't know. But the first thing that came to my mind was the other one that wasn't legit. So just be careful. They're very crafty. They could take somebody's normal video and take you, like they could take one of my videos, take my face. Now I'm giving people ideas. And then they put something on it. And, you know, with all this AI, who knows what they can do. Just be careful. If you fall for any of that kind of stuff, and it can be legit. I'm not saying it's not, but if you're going to go somewhere, if they're telling you, hey, you know, you're going to go to Florida or Miami, whatever, take someone with you. You know, be careful. Do any kind of research that you possibly can to find out if it is legit and that you're not putting yourself in harm's way. Let me see what else. Obviously, drug trafficking. So I do want to tell you about one particular, I believe this is through the Polaris Human Trafficking line. One particular line I think is really, really helpful. So say you do see something in your surroundings and you just want to report it real quick, you can text 233733 be free. You can text 233733 be free. So you would put those numbers in, and then in the subject line or the comments line, B as in boy, E as in echo, and then the word free. F as in Frank, R as in Roger, E as in echo, E as in echo. So you would just put in those numbers, 23373, like you would text somebody, and then be free. If you just wanted to call it, you would call 1-888-373-7888, the Human Trafficking Line. The Polaris is the name of that organization. There's another organization that saves adolescents from prostitution called SOAP, SOAP. Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution. She goes around, Teresa Flores goes around passing out little soap packages about trafficking and making people aware and all of that kind of stuff. And she especially does it in the hotels during times of like the Super Bowl. So that's something to be aware of and recognize. Let me see. There's a few other things I wanted to address. Let me see. So here's some organizations, as I promised I would talk about. One of the biggest ones for prevention is called the International Justice Mission. It's one of the largest organizations fighting human trafficking through policy change and training. They look at the bigger picture, working to dismantle the system of human trafficking itself in many contexts. Police, judges, and officials are ill-equipped to enforce anti-human trafficking laws. Their lawyers train local leaders and law enforcement to respond to this crime. So like I said, there is good news that they're getting more and more aware of this, and they know some of the telltale signs. Another one is Operation Underground Railroad. They go around rescuing people that have been trafficked. That is just an amazing organization. I've been on Clubhouse listening to some of how they just really dig deep, dive deep, go under. They literally do go under. Some of my visions have been underground. I've seen them coming from like up under the ground being rescued. So I knew that they were underground. Right now, my belief, and this is my belief only, but from my visions and from what I've learned, I think a lot of this trafficking is going underground. It's in our railroads, like the old railroads under the tunnels. That's where they are. So that's something, another thing to be aware of. Watch for those types of things. Another one is the Exodus Road. It's an expert in intervening to liberate individuals who are currently trapped in human trafficking. They train local operatives to identify victims of human trafficking, gather evidence to build effective cases for law enforcement, and support law enforcement in operations to free victims. They've helped free more than 1,500 women and children from sex trafficking and aided in the arrest of more than 800 traffickers. And I'm not sure what year that was. RAFA International has campuses in Thailand, Cambodia, and Haiti, providing safe places for those healing from abuse and exploitation. Their staff of trained experts from the local community provide comprehensive trauma-informed care to give survivors a chance to reclaim their lost childhood. So if you're invested in caring for survivors of human trafficking, they recommend RAPHA House, RAPHA House. Another one is called Free the Girls. It's another organization doing amazing work for survivors of human trafficking. They help survivors of human trafficking start their own businesses, selling bras in local markets. That's amazing. A safe, sustainable form of employment enables these survivors to transition from oppression to leading a life of true freedom. And these are the nonprofits. The first one was what I mentioned earlier. It's one of the bigger ones. The Polaris Project, Polaris, P as in Paul, O as in Oscar, L as in Larry, A as in Alpha, R as in Roger, I as in India, S as in Sam. The Polaris Project is at the forefront of tackling the underlying system that perpetuates human trafficking in the USA. Through its operation of the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline, the Polaris Project gathers key data on how trafficking operations work in the U.S. and provides crisis response for trafficking tips. And then there's like another one in Brazil called Denoncourt, Agape International Mission. Implements both prevention and aftercare programming in Cambodia. It's a central hub for human trafficking with a history of child sex trafficking and 261,000 people currently living in conditions of modern slavery. So as you can see, there are a lot of resources. There's probably more than that. But like I said, I really just wanted to address this. Another thing that I heard about that just blew me away when the pandemic hit, which doesn't mean it wasn't happening before this, but it was happening more. I found out parents were actually selling their kids for sex trafficking to make money because they didn't have any money. It's probably still happening. And it could have been happening before COVID hit, but that's when I learned about it. I was like, oh my goodness. So there's all different types of ways of trafficking. They steal your kids, or maybe, you're just not happy in your home. Maybe you're living in a broken home. There's alcoholism, there's violence in the home. So you run away thinking it's a better life. And then all of a sudden you meet Joe Schmo. He promises you the world. Next thing you know, you're being used for trafficking. That's how they prey on you. Like I said, they use the internet now to prey. They call it the dark web. Be very, very careful, even yourself. if you're on TikTok, if you're on Facebook, social media, if you are lonely, they're going to prey on you. You've got to find a better way to meet people than online, because you don't know who in the heck is behind that screen. It could be somebody who's been in jail. You don't know. It's bad enough you didn't know who your neighbors were, right? Now you don't know who's behind that screen and preying on you, pretending to be your best buddy, your friend, pretending to love you and care about you and promising you the world. Watch out for that stuff. That's all I can tell you. I don't care if you're male or female. It's very easy if you're lonely and feeling rejected and nowhere else to turn. Be careful of who you're turning to on the internet now more than ever. Thankfully, they are starting to track some of this stuff, but not enough. They have that's the other thing they do have is special task force in different organizations, even whether it's the FBI, police departments. There, special organizations that just have cyber security for some of that kind of stuff, cyber stalking and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. But I just really want to make people aware of that tonight. Trina, I don't know if you have anything to add, if I'm missing anything. But I wanted to make people aware of it, especially with the Super Bowl coming up. Like I said, this blew me away that they use the Super Bowl more than ever to traffic, and they get more money for it. Like it's just a regular business. It's absolutely insane. So some of these things you'll see on the internet, oh, that's not true, but do your own research. It's not what I've heard from the people that actually do the work, from like people from Operation Underground Railroad. I've said a lot. I know I have said a lot, but like I said, it's just important. Like I said, with everything going on now, people are looking to make a buck, and if it means selling your child to make a buck, they're going to do it. Unfortunately, they're going to do it. People are looking up for all different ways. And then, the other thing is people are looking for love in all the wrong places. They run away and look for a good, they think this guy is going to give them the world. And next thing you know, you're being trafficked. He's your pimp, and they don't act that way when you meet them. They really don't. So for those of you who don't know me, I did work in a prison for 22 years. So I was aware of some things, but I learned a lot of this after I worked in a prison, after I got out of jail. I was a dispatcher, but it's just mind-blowing, and I'm sure there's things I'm not even thinking of, right? Oh, I know, there's one that I'm not thinking of. Here's the other thing. There are a lot of organizations that hide trafficking money. So the way they do that, one of the biggest ones is like pocketbooks. Certain pocketbook lines, that money is used in the trafficking business. So they do a lot of that, like that. A lot of those businesses that like you just sell like out of your home, you just get some product, like some of the products you get from China or other countries or whatever, and they're knockoffs. That's the word I want. Those knockoff products. That's another way. They cover up the trafficking organization with a different name. They make it look like a pocketbook company or something like that. There's a lot of those. I couldn't even tell you who they are, but there's a lot of that going on too. Different organizations. And there's a lot of political organizations that are doing that, and I won't name those names for not getting shut down, but do your own research. There's a lot of that going on. So there's a lot of, like I said, from the Vatican on down, some people are good, some people are bad, but we've got a lot of crooked people out there, and they're making a lot of money from doing trafficking, human and sex trafficking. Some of it's just, farming stuff, that kind of thing. So it just depends. Another vision I had was a worldly one. This one was, I believe, in Ghana. We figured it out. I was actually on a prophetic broadcast, and we figured it out what I was seeing. But I saw it was like young girls. They looked like they were Philippine type or Korean, and they were getting on an airplane, and the airplane had like the symbol of the African flag, like a Ghanaian flag or something like that. And they were getting on the airplane. So they're going back and forth across seas. It's unbelievable. The biggest states for trafficking are the ones that are on the border, because they're going back and forth through the waters as well. Boats. Oh, that's the other one. Ships. They hide young girls on these ships. Some of these cargo ships it's happening on. That's another one. But a lot of it's going on where there's borders, like New York, California, Florida. It's actually kind of big here in North Carolina because we're near a border. Anything around the border, Texas, Mexico, around there, all around the border, because they come in by the water. So something else to be aware of. So if you ever see anything out of the ordinary at the airports, maybe you're going on a cruise, if you're ever by the water, just anything out of the ordinary, take note of it, because you never know, take note of it, especially if it's in your neighborhood, like I said, Airbnbs, hotels, if you live near a hotel. Just take note of anything that just seems out of the ordinary. Kid looks scared. There's little symbols that kids do. And that's the other thing, not to go too deep into this, but trafficking can also go into pedophiles and pedophilia. So be aware of any kind of codes with pedophilia. We all saw the Balenciaga, some of the things that they were using in Balenciaga that represents pedophilia. I'm not going to go into all those different symbols, but one of them is panda eyes. And that has to do with, this is really awful and really horrific, but child sodomy. And again, if you look on the internet, of course they're going to try to debunk this, but you do your own research. But I truly believe it's true. They get like black eyes from child sodomy, and so they call that panda eyes. So, if you start to see kids with weird dolls and things like that, those are red flags. Things that aren't normal kind of dolls that kids would be with. Anything that has sexual innuentations on it, or I don't even know. But there's all different things to watch out for. Yes, Miss Trina, there is a lot. A lot to be aware of, a lot to share with your kids, even your adult kids who have kids. So even if you're grandparents, and, just watch out what kind of toys your kids are playing with, what kind of video games they're playing, what kind of people are they interacting on video games, what are they interacting with on social media. Try to monitor it. So yeah, I think I've pretty much given you a good synopsis about human trafficking and sex trafficking. Like I said, I don't even think I've touched the surface. Someday I'll get some guests and they can tell you their stories and how they got into it, how they got out of it, with how they're doing now. But like I said, for me, I just kind of got called to it to intercede for. So if you're a prayer warrior, pray over. I pray that no stone is unturned in finding these children that have been captured. I pray that every capture is caught and brought to justice. I pray that every person that is rescued, every child, every kid, or semi-adult, that they get the help they need. This show is called Overcoming Illness. Well, once they're captured, they're going to need a lot of help. So I pray for divine connections, divine resources for these people. Maybe they need their health attended to. You know, their teeth are bad now because of all the years they were trafficked. They're malnourished. They're traumatized. They're going to need mental health help. They're going to need skills to get along in the world, business skills, whatever it is. So I just pray, and they're going to need a place to live. So these are my prayers, that there's no stone unturned, none. Finding every child on this earth that has been kidnapped for trafficking, whether it's human trafficking or sex trafficking. I pray no stone unturned for the people that are doing it, and I don't care who they are. I pray that God exposes them, and God's the one who's going to judge them, but I pray in this natural earth they get what's coming on. And I just pray for help for these people. I pray for the people that have lost their children, that think that they're not alive, that they get the help that they need, and they get the answers, and that their children are found and brought home. Bring the children home. I pray for that. Or kids. They may not be a child anymore, but they may be a young adult. Pray for the hospitals. If these kids wind up in the hospital with something, you see all these TV shows that kind of give you some subtle hints about stuff like that. Oh, I think they were trafficked, da da da. Well, if you work in a hospital, pay attention in the hospital. Is anything out of the ordinary for someone coming in? So, my God, I could go on forever. The more I sit here and talk, the more I start to think of things. So if you think of anything, add it to your prayer list. Send me a message. I'll add it to mine. If you want to be on the show, or you know anybody that wants to be on the show, has to do with this, I would love to have you. I'd love to dig deeper into this. I'd love to hear the stories. I've heard some myself, but I want my audience to hear them, of people that have been trafficked and got out of it. For instance, the woman who does soap, she was trafficked. And I met her on Clubhouse. So yeah, with that, I mean, I'm probably not going to go the whole hour. I'm going to run out of breath. But I just really wanted to bring this to your attention. I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think enough people are aware of what's going on. I think Balenciaga kind of brought it to people's attention with the pedophilia, but I don't think people really realize all the different ways that trafficking can happen. And it's right under our noses, not like the old days. It was under our noses then, but not as severely. And it's all about money. Follow the money. It's making big bucks. And I truly believe, without saying any names or anything, I think a lot of big organizations are running these things. Oh, wow. You weren't aware of all these things, Trina? Well, feel free to share. Feel free to share, because the world needs to hear it. So with that, like I said, I am looking for guests for the show. Doesn't have to be about human or sex trafficking. You could have overcome an illness. Could be cancer. Oh, February is Heart Health Awareness Month. So if you have a heart disease, or you've overcome heart disease, or maybe you've had a stroke, anything to do with the heart, would love for you to come on in February, so we can focus on heart health. It doesn't have to be, but trying to focus a little bit on heart health. So yeah, and I'm looking for sponsors. So with that, I'm probably going to end the show. Just to remind you, I do have digital ebooks and recipe books. So if you're out there and you are suffering from multiple food allergies, food sensitivities, autoimmune, you don't know what to eat. You're always like, oh, I just don't know what to eat anymore. I was there. I suffered from multiple food allergies. So I have digital ebooks and recipe books that are all anti-inflammatory. Lots of them are gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar, low sugar, all that kind of stuff to help with those types of things. Feel free to take a look at that. That's at enrichyourhealth.com, enrichurhealth.com. I also help with business funding. So if you need funding, let me know. I can help you with that. And I'm just looking for other businesses to partner with that need recipes for their clients or patients. If, you know, your patient or client is saying the same thing I did. I don't know what to eat. What do I do? I'm sick of weeding through all the garbage on the internet. I'm tired of it. I need somebody to just tell me what to eat. I can do customized recipes. So with that, I will be on again next Sunday. Not sure who we're going to have on next Sunday, so we'll see. And if you want to be a guest, you just let me know. You can do that through Instagram Messenger, Facebook Messenger, or you can send me a text on my website, enrichyourhealth.com. My phone number is there, 508-330-9665, if you're listening and not watching. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Trina, for being on. Thank you all to the replay viewers. And I'd love to hear from you, even if you want to just let me know how you like the show, if you learned anything. Would love to hear from you. So send me a little love there. And please go over and like my YouTube channel. That's under Enrich Your Health. And please give Elevation TV Network some love on their YouTube channel. I'm so thankful for them. So you want to give them some love, like, subscribe to their videos, because they have a lot of amazing, motivational, inspirational people on their channel, as well as myself. So thank you, everybody. So we will see you next Sunday. Thank you. Have a great week, everyone. And thank you, Miss Trina, for being on.